G'day, it's Robbie again. Well, we're on the home straight, the last part of this project, and it's gone okay so far. I cut it pretty fine with my measurements, but I mean they're basically where I wanted to finish up, but if I'd gone another 5mm deeper, it would have been better. It would give you more to play with, but anyway, it's turned out okay. It'll do the job quite nicely. So the next part of the job is to drill down through here to take a bolt, and then we'll slit it, and then we'll drill out this top section so the bolt will slip straight through and only thread in the bottom section. So when you do the first drill through, it'll be for threading a 6mm bolt. Of course, I go through my bolts and I haven't got any 6mm cap head bolts. I thought I had, but I haven't. I could put an 8mm through. I've got plenty of 8s, but it doesn't really need an 8. That's a bit overkill. So I have got some regular 6mm bolts, so I'll probably use this one. That'll be okay, and that'll give you plenty to play with. It'll do the job. It's only you've got to flex that top section, and it's not hugely thick. That's 3mm. I was originally going to have it 5mm there, roughly, but I mean, as it turned out, I ran out of metal, but 3mm is quite alright anyway. And once again, when you're using these grinders, it's not a huge load being put on the job. You know, you're only grinding very lightly. That's one of the big things about them. You know, you can grind unsupported work like that, just on the end with a grinder, and it won't wrench it out of the holder or whatever. You know, they're very, very useful. So, I suppose get on with it. Now, I had a couple of suggestions. One was, why didn't I face off the sides of the holder while I was at it? Well, I'm a more function and form guy, and I don't really mind a bit of a rough finish. When it's all cleaned up, it'll look okay. It's going to be I could sandblast it or just buff it off or whatever, but I'm not particularly worried about that. Also, I don't want to reduce any thickness. You know, you want this to be as strong as possible, and the more metal you mill off, the weaker it's going to be, so that's fine by me. And another comment was regarding the nose on this. Is this just a cast nose? And I said it straight from the beginning, it's a cast nose. And I did consider how uniform it was, and it's actually not bad. As a casting, it's pretty accurate. I ran the mic over it, and yeah, it's good. If I was to machine that, I would have to dismantle the whole damn tool, because to get this off past the chuck, you have to get the chuck off. And to get the chuck off, you have to grip the armature, because there's no way to lock the armature. So, well, hang on, having said that, there's a couple of flats in there. That's interesting. Hang on a minute, I'll get a little wrench that came with this, and I reckon you could get a spanner in there. Interesting. We'll have to check that. Right, well, I actually did look in here originally to see if there's anywhere you could lock the spindle, and I didn't see it at the time, but I noticed there's a couple of flats in here. So this little wrench that came with us, they supplied this little wrench with a screwdriver tip, which is a pretty crummily made thing. I mean, the rest of the unit's good. And I thought this must fit something, and it does actually go in here and lock onto the armature. So you can actually unscrew the chuck. I'm not going to do it, but basically that locks the armature, and so I can unscrew the chuck. In which case, yeah, you could take the nose off. Once that chuck comes off, you can undo these 3 screws, and the nose section and the front bearing possibly would come off. I don't know. You'd have to try it and see. As it is, as I said, this is quite uniform. And here's the actual job. We'll put it in. It's a good snug fit. I mean, that's quite all right. You can see from the front, it's got a good fit. It's not wobbly or anything. you know, as far as I'm concerned, that'll be perfectly adequate to do the job. And yeah, we're going to go with that. But I mean, yeah, as it turns out, this little spanner, this little wrench, does serve a purpose. Because I thought, oh, what's this thing? You know, it must fit something. And I looked in there, and it must be the angle I was looking at coming in from this side. But looking from this side, I can see the flats. And obviously that's how you get the chuck off. So yeah, so you can replace the chuck. And if it's a thread that's a standard thread, which it would be, I mean, there's a number of threads for these 1/4 inch Jacob style chucks. And you could probably get a collet, a miniature ER16, one of those slimline ER16 collet chucks to go on there and use collets in it, you know, for even better accuracy. Good spot. So anyway, all right, so we're off to a good start anyway. Everything looks good. So it's just a matter now of get on with the job and beat the next lot of hot weather which is coming, which is only a day or so away. So we'll get on to it. I'll use this bolt for the job. That'll be perfectly okay. Right, well, we're ready to drill our hole. And once again, I'll use the 4-jaw to do this. We can get everything dead, straight, lined up correctly. You can see it's clearing the carriage stop once again. Once again, the carriage stop protects the front of the carriage from undesirable events occurring, which could be quite dangerous too in this situation. So you're doing it well there. Our centre line is right on the drill point, and we've got everything checked to make sure that it's at the correct alignment. So we're ready to go. So yeah, once again, the old 4-jaw chucks are handy machines, handy bits of gear to have on these lathes, and yeah. We'll now swap over the tailstock live centre for a collet, and we'll drill right through. Right, ready to go. I'll start off with using a stub drill just to get things going in nice and straight. Pretty hard still. I hope it taps okay. I think it will. I just have to be really careful. Right, so we've drilled right through for the size hole that we need to tap the thread. Now we're going to drill through to the midpoint for the size drill that the bolt will just slide through, because we're only going to tap on the bottom part, remember, so this top part must be able to slide. So we'll do it now before we slit it. Just go in, if we go a bit past the midpoint, that's okay, and that way we can save remounting everything again. So okay, let's do it. We'll just use the scale on the tailstock to go in 22 mil. Yeah, it seems to be going pretty easy. This is good. Yeah, if I'd done it on the tailstock, I would have had to realign it because the work piece is off centre slightly, so I thought it's just as easy to do it in the vise, and you can feel what's going on better in a vise. I don't really like threading in the chuck because you haven't got much feedback on, you know, how things are going, whereas a hand tap, you can exactly judge the spring in the tap and feel how it's cutting. I find it more convenient. Once again, you want a decent sized tap holder rather than those poxy little things they give you in those tap and die sets. They're pretty useless, except for the very smallest of sizes. This is just one I got from a garage sale years ago. It's a good one. You can make your own, they're not difficult to make. I've got 3 or 4 of these in various configurations, but I like this one the best. It's just a nice size. Job done. It should all work now. It just needs a bit of a clean up and take any rough edges off, put the bolt in. Should be good to go. Well, job done. Project completed as far as I'm concerned. You can see it's railway line heritage and the old dog plate it was made out of, but I mean it doesn't matter. It's only going to be used as a holder. It's not the crown jewels. But overall it turned out pretty right. Oh. And now I just use the same spanner for this as I used for the carriage lock and the compound, so just keep all your spanners the same size. I was going to use a cap head bolt, but as I said I haven't got any. But this works quite alright, so that came in pretty damn good. That's as solid as the Rock of Gibraltar. So yeah, now I suppose it's a matter of you guys want to see it work, see it, try it out. So alright, I'll tidy up and we'll check this baby out. Right, she's mounted in the tool post. It's as solid as a rock. Let's bring it in and see how it lines up with the dead centre. Look at that. Spot on the money. Spot on the money. I think that will do me very nicely. Let's turn it on and see what happens. How's that? No run out there, baby. Perfecto. This should really be good. So I'll put a cutting disc in here and just do some basic grinding with it, and we'll have a little play. We'll put in the cutting disc. Now I'll just point out another thing. The reason you want to keep this top section low is so that you can get the chuck key in. Okay, you don't want it sticking up too high. So this actually worked out pretty good. Now that was just on number 4, and it went through that like a hot knife through butter. You can use a tool post grinder for all sorts of jobs, particularly working on hard steel. I mean, you can regrind dead centres. Here's a centre punch that's been ground by hand. Who knows by who? Wouldn't be me, of course. And we'll just set the top slide, and we'll just freshen that up. So let's do it. So let's have a look at the finished product. How did that grab you? That's the way to go, isn't it? That's hard stuff. So the whole thing, okay, pivot around. You can do tapers in any direction. You can come right around. You can come in that way. I mean, the whole thing fits great. You can see the whole thing is super rigid. And the beauty is you can use your top slide as well to do tapers, whereas on my big one I can't use the top slide, it's just too humongous. It has to sit on its own base. So this is the ideal setup, 400 watts, and it will take the 75mm discs. A decent sized grindstones could go in there as well. There's no vibration problem, there's no run out problems. I think it's awesome. I mean, it really is great, and you've got variable speed as well. It's got everything going for what you could possibly want. All we have to do is make up a mount, and yes, it is possible to take the caster nose off and machine it up to a higher accuracy, but as it is, it works fine. It's good enough, really, as it is. If you take the nose off, you're going to have to take the bearings off the shaft, and it's going to be mucking around. I can't guarantee what's going to happen there. I'm quite happy to use it like this, and as you saw, it lines up perfectly on dead centre. So what more can I say? It's project complete, worked out perfectly. It's a nice, compact, well-made little unit, super rigid, robust. Can take cutting discs, grindstones, all the Dremel stuff, burrs, you know, diamond burrs, carbide burrs. So handy. And if you're not afraid to use a grinder on your lathe, you can find a lot of uses for something like this. So that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed it, got something out of it, and yeah, get yourself an old railway dog plate or a decent bit of steel and make one up for your own lathe. Okay, that's it from me. I'll see you next time. Cheers.